Yeah, it is true. The court cards do represent for me either certain characteristics or certain situations.
Yeah. And it's matching up, and sometimes it's an incongruity that highlights a particular court card in those situations as well. It doesn't fit, and it's like, well, who the hell's that person? And if you do card counting, and if you know about uncounted cards, I don't know if you know about this, Inbaal.
No, I don't.
What happens is that card counting is you fan out the cards, and all of the cards have a particular number that you can count from. So the knight, the queen, and the prince are all 4. The princesses are 7. The 10 of discs count 10, as is the 10 of swords, and so on. And you can do this for the magic cards as well. When I was writing the Tarot and the Magus, I actually did a Excel spreadsheet to go through all the kind of card counting that you could do in this particular thing. And I noticed that, because the actual rule is you start from the top card basically and count from that one. You can go another direction. But when you go through all of the cards, you realize sometimes there's cards that none of the cards count onto.
Right.
But that card obviously counts onto 2 cards, but there are no cards that count onto it. And it's an uncounted card. It's an invisible card. And sometimes if it's a court card that's uncounted, that actually represents a person the client doesn't even know about, who either hasn't turned up or is behind the scenes doing things. And they need to find out who it is. Or it could just mundanely be a secret admirer as well.
Yeah, but no, I know exactly what you mean. When I used to do face-to-face readings, hopefully one day again, I get people to cut the cards into 3 packs and then pick one pack for me to read from. And I put, the most standard, normal Celtic cross. So what happens when they pick a pack with 7 cards? So then I'm missing some stuff, and it's not me missing things. Each thing that doesn't connect has a meaning in itself. So it'll be somebody who has no hopes or fears, or somebody that has no domestic situation, maybe in between houses, maybe in between partners. But yeah, I'm really, really into reading meanings into what's not there, into what's not sort of part of the picture.
Yeah, it's the context of what's missing sometimes as much as what is there. And sometimes I'm looking at the cards and I'm thinking, what isn't here?
Yes.
Rather than what is. And sometimes what isn't there can be more important than what is, because that's the thing. The other thing I was thinking of that in psychotherapeutic terms, and in general, is that every card is an aspect of ourselves, particularly the court cards as well. So the court card that you don't like is an aspect of yourself that you don't like, which can be a bit.
Yeah. No, I think it's really true.
That don't want to go there and talk about. They're the ones that are most interesting to actually discuss.
No, I think it's really true. And I think it's something that you'll see more of, and maybe notice more of when you're teaching, as opposed to when you're reading, because then people express, oh, I hate this card makes me uncomfortable, this card is too daring.
The easy answer is to remove that card from the deck.
No, life is life. I'm sort of very harsh, very blunt. We deal with what's there.
Yeah.
Also with parenting, same. Same.
Right, send them back to the orphanage.
No. But when my daughter was very small, she'd have been 1 and a month, because it was Easter and someone gave her like an Easter chocolate bunny, and I had the same one. And to give her the chocolate bunny, I was like, what part of it do you want? She picked the ears, and I broke the chocolate bunny, much to her horror. She burst in tears. And my mom was there, and my mom was like, just switch it with yours. And I was like, no, she needs to learn the sacrifices we need to make in order to eat chocolate. I said to her, it's still the same bunny.
For a woman, it's never a sacrifice.
That's so true. That's so true. And so far, she's growing just fine with it. I'm not a big one for lying or mollycoddling or making things easy.
Tough love.
Life is life.
Who'd have thought, hey?
But also tough love reader. Life is life. All we do as readers is pull up a conversation about it.
Yeah.
By getting rid of the card that you don't like, you're not going to make that part of life disappear.
But there are tarot readers who would do that.
Wow.
Yeah. You know, but there's an interesting thing that happens with me sometimes, because I cut the cards into 4 files. I'm doing it these days because of COVID. It's easier, actually. And sometimes you have like the 10 of swords in the desires position, and there's 3 of swords is on top of the future position, okay? Bloody awful cards. You're expecting disaster, and it's going to get worse. But actually, all the other cards underneath the 3 of swords in that position, they're all good.
Right. That's not that bad.
So I say, so sometimes I'll actually physically move that 3 of swords just over, so it's not touching the other cards. And say, well, look, if that wasn't there, you're thinking it's disaster because it's the 10 of swords. But actually, all of these cards are really good. And sometimes I say, well, are you just expecting bad? Why do you expect bad things all the time? And say, well, because it always does.
Excuse me.
Yes, Bart.
I've heard of a lot of people who are actually afraid of the Thoth tarot, and because of the amount of bad cards in it.
It's the same number as in the Rider-Waite deck. The same meanings. They got it from the same source.
You have the fairy tarot and you have the tarot and you have
what planet are they on? When the Golden Dawn meanings, the Rider-Waite was a member of his own Golden Dawn order, a Christian
planet
Golden Dawn, right?
Earth. They are very much on planet Earth. Doesn't get much earthier than Earth.
Well, yeah, maybe in Belgium, Bart. But the thing is, the Rider-Waite deck and the the Book of Thoth both have the common source in Book T, which is the Golden Dawn source of the entire tarot knowledge. It's exactly the same. It's just very stupid people who like to think the Rider-Waite is nicer. Well, it's got the Death card in there. The 10 of Swords in the Rider-Waite deck is still not a good card. Same as the 3 of Swords. Because they got pictures to make it to illustrate. Well, you have pictures to illustrate when you're 5 years old in the children's books. Do you need a picture of your mother to know that, oh, that's my mother?
I find the Rider-Waite like bad cards. I mean, nothing is bad. Nothing is bad. Life is life. But I find the Rider-Waite sort of less favorable cards scarier, because I think the guy with all the swords around and the one with like the bandage, or the guy sort of stepping away, all swords, the guy kind of stepping away.
Well, you obviously haven't read the story properly.
They are not funner to look at than a series of jagged swords dripping with blood. It's
that's a 9 of Swords for anyone who's wondering there. And but the interesting thing,
it's not my living room, of course.
There's a white strip along the top of the 9 of Swords, and that brilliant whiteness in the color system is Keter. So you're connecting the 9, and the 9's all to do with the moon, Yesod. Okay, so this is connecting Yesod to Keter on the middle pillar. What's bad about that?
Excuse me, but maybe we were just talking about how I interpreted that card and you gave your comment on it, but you have to, when I read, my son is very interested when I read the cards. Ever since he was a tiny little boy, he used to sit there and Dad, will you read my cards? And very often, just out of curiosity, I'd show him a card and say, what do you think this card means? A random card. Then him, with his little baby mind, would tell me how he thought what was the meaning of that card. you'd be, like certain cards with Crowley, which one is it? The 7 of disc, for example. But yeah, I mean, it doesn't need much explaining. I mean, you just see the image. But that's the good thing about the Crowley Tarot. The images are so every color, every aspect expresses something that you don't need a manual actually to read it.